Welcome to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, a naturopathic physician and your guide to a new health reality, one that connects body, mind, and spirit. Together, we'll dive deep into the art and science of holistic healing. Through working with hundreds of women through midlife transitions, I've discovered something profound. Most of our physical and emotional challenges are rooted in a maladaptive stress response. And true healing begins when we regulate our nervous system. Each episode will explore complex health topics in simple, empowering ways, uncover the deeper wisdom within each of us, and share practical tools for nervous system regulation to help you awaken your vital force and create lasting wellness. So, if you're ready to reconnect with yourself, your health, and your purpose, let's begin this journey together, so you can experience life more fully human and deeply healed. Hi, and welcome back to the Vital Spirit podcast. I'm Dr. Kelly Livingston, and today we're continuing our essential conversation that we started in episode 20, Why Drainage Comes Before Detox. In that episode, I was really opening your eyes to some of the hidden reasons why detox protocols can make you feel worse before they make you feel better. And in this episode, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the organs of elimination, or emunctories, and the process that Dr. Z mentioned in my guest episode with him, known as depuration. You'll learn how to recognize the subtle signs that your elimination pathways are congested, how to support them through daily practices that I promise are really simple, and why this slow medicine is actually the foundation for long-term healing. This is not about being afraid that our emunctories are not open or we're not eliminating. It's definitely not about having a list of more things that we have to do every day, but it is about having rhythms and routines around maintenance of our emunctories or organs of elimination. It's definitely about creating the conditions for health that we talked all about in our first few episodes and applying this naturopathic and vitalistic wisdom. So hopefully reframing some of these daily habits as seeds that you're watering has been helpful along the way. And if you're someone who likes to take notes and reflect as you listen, then make sure you grab your free copy of your Seeds of Health journal and a pen and a piece of paper. If you're someone who likes to print that out, I'm still someone who does like to write things down. I feel like it organizes my brain. So make sure you follow along. This is definitely an episode that you'll want to revisit and share. So what are emunctories? In naturopathic medicine, emunctories are the body's built-in elimination systems. They're so important for your healthy terrain. They're your drainage pathways, like sewers in a city or exhaust in your car or filters in your water. They are filtering your internal ecosystem. Emunctories are the organs that process all of the things that are not self, and perimenopause and menopause are really times in our lives when it's forcing us to evaluate and reflect on what is my purpose in life and how am I aligning my organs of elimination? How am I aligning my physical body, my mind, and my spirit so that I can live to my full potential? These organs of elimination, when not functioning in a healthy way, can really be an obstacle to cure at this phase of life. So what are your primary organs of elimination, or emunctories? We're going to start with the liver. The liver metabolizes and neutralizes your hormones, medications, environmental toxins, and even emotional hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And then you have your colon. Your colon is excreting your metabolic waste, and we've talked all about how it's also clearing estrogen metabolites. You also actually make cholesterol in your liver and then clear it through your colon. So both of these major organs of elimination are really important in our overall health. And if you're not having daily complete bowel movements, you're reabsorbing that waste or reabsorbing that cholesterol or that toxic estrogen. Then we have our kidneys. They're filtering our blood. They're regulating our electrolyte balance and hydration, and they're eliminating those water-soluble toxins through urine. So, of course, if you're dehydrated, that's going to impact that organ of elimination or that kidney pathway for toxins to leave your body. We have our lungs. They release volatile toxins, carbon dioxide, and they're really helping to regulate your acid-base balance. I often we'll talk about how when we're not deeply breathing or releasing, which I'll talk about in just a minute, that our lungs are really not eliminating toxins as we need them to. So even learning how to breathe is really helpful for your lungs as an organ of elimination. And then we have your skin, which is your largest emunctory. So sweating is releasing toxins that organs can't keep up with. Your skin's also your largest sensory organ. So it's not only releasing, but it's receiving information as well. So reactions like hives, eczema, or acne are very often signs that deeper systems like your liver or your lymph are overburdened. And that can be from internal or external toxins. And absolutely, when I see skin symptoms, I'm always thinking, what is trying to come out? What is going on that needs to release from the body because it's coming out the skin, that giant organ of elimination? And then we have our secondary emunctory. So when primary drainage systems are overburdened, the body is going to open up secondary exits. Remember, the body wants to heal. It is so smart. It knows exactly what it's doing. And so that can be your sinuses or your mucous membrane. So when you have chronic drainage, chronic sinusitis, postnasal drip, histamine issues, essentially flares or inflammation in your mucous membranes, I would consider irritable bowel symptoms in this category as well. That's a sign that that secondary emunctory or organ of elimination is being taxed. And then you can also have vaginal or uterine elimination. So this might be conditions like endometriosis or fibroid growth. And very often, when we're not excreting estrogen, we'll see symptoms like fibroid growth or processes like endometriosis starting to develop. And then joints and lymphatic tissue. So you might have pain or swelling or toxic stiffness, lymphatic stagnation, or tight fascia. So these can all be signs, again, that those secondary organs of elimination are now working. And this process, this entire process, is what Dr. Z mentioned in that awesome guest episode. Be sure you go back and listen to that. This is that process of depuration. So that physiological act of cleansing out the body. But it's also an energetic process. So emunctories are clearing not only that metabolic waste through our body, but also emotional stagnation. So blocked elimination, blocked physical elimination will very often be manifested or linked to blocked emotional elimination in patients that I see. And I think a forgotten emunctory is our breath. So, of all the emunctories, those lungs that I mentioned in the beginning as a primary organ of elimination, I think can be one of the most overlooked ones, but they're absolutely essential to detoxification. So, every time that you exhale, you're releasing carbon dioxide, and that is a waste product of metabolism. But it doesn't just stop there, because the lungs are also eliminating other volatile toxins that we come into contact with. We have a lot of off-gassing happening with our furniture and our paint. Living in the Northeast of the United States of America, a lot of my patients are exposed to mold, especially if they work in a school building or a government building. Those all often have mold overgrowth, and your lungs are processing that. And I would absolutely say that the lungs are processing byproducts of emotional and nervous system stress as well. So we've talked in previous episodes about how shallow breathing can keep us stuck, and how deep rhythmic breath and those long, slow exhales can clear stagnation and get our body into that healing parasympathetic state. The act of breathing fully and really using our diaphragm to breathe is going to stimulate lymphatic movement, support that vagus nerve tone, balance your autonomic nervous system, and enhance oxygenation and your mitochondrial detox pathways. So deep breaths are so important. That's why we've talked about it so much before. And every time that you are engaging in a deep breathwork practice, you're also supporting an organ of elimination. And you're releasing emotional charges that might be stored in your diaphragm or chest. So, how many times have you felt maybe emotionally overwhelmed or stressed out, and you notice you have that tension or tightness or stagnation in your chest? So, engaging in those deep, long, slow exhales can be really helpful here. I often talk with patients about how your lungs are your fastest detox organ, so you don't even need a supplement to begin this process. You just need to be really consciously breathing. And a quick practice that we can all do together is that you're going to inhale slowly for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and then exhale for 6 to 8 counts. You'll pause and then you can repeat that for 3 to 5 minutes, whatever you're comfortable with. So ready, we're going to inhale, hold, and exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can continue to do that on your own. It's just an example of a hold and a long, slow exhale to get you into that parasympathetic state. So, this simple act, this long, slow exhale, is really shifting you into that rest and digest mode where elimination and repair are going to happen most effectively. I see so many patients who have breath that is just habitually shallow, whether it's due to stress, trauma, poor posture, disconnection. It's also where we hold grief, tension. When we're not speaking our truth, we're holding in our breath very often. In traditional Chinese medicine, the lungs are the seat of grief. So when we deepen our breath, we're creating space for emotion to move as well. So I hope you try at least a long, slow exhale practice and just see how that feels today. So, why does maintaining our emunctories or organs of elimination matter? Why is this important? So, I like to use the car analogy here. You'll hear me talking about this sometimes, where you can think of your body like a car. So, you wouldn't drive your car for 100,000 miles without ever changing the oil, flushing the transmission fluid, cleaning out your air filters, rotating your tires. You're certainly not going to drive it without giving it gas. Of course not, right? But so many people actually do this with their own bodies. And I'm not always the best at maintaining my car, although I did just buy an awesome Subaru that I love. So I'm working really hard at being good at maintaining that. But we're expecting this high performance from our bodies. We're expecting it to, stay quiet, don't give me any symptoms, don't make me uncomfortable. But we're neglecting basic elimination processes. We've talked so much before, right, about how I'll often have women come into my office who've, jumped into a detox protocol or a candida cleanse or a parasite cleanse and these more intense detoxes without really first tending to these basic systems and asking, am I pooping? Am I breathing? Right. And the result is they do feel overwhelmed, they'll have flares, and then they're going to be burned out in the healing process because maybe things have been done in a little bit of the wrong order. And this is really part of why I created the Seeds of Health framework. So I talk about these seeds of health that we water daily, and each daily seed that we're watering is supporting your emunctories with gentle terrain-based care. So you can go back and listen to our episode on that. And again, you can download that journal and follow along. But one of the first seeds of health we talk about with a new patient is hydration and hydrotherapy. So, proper hydration supports kidney and lymph function. If you're dehydrated, you're not going to be eliminating through your bowels as readily. And then hydrotherapies like Epsom salt baths and contrast showers, as Dr. Z said, always end your shower with cold. They're going to stimulate the skin, circulation, your immune system, and your lymphatics. And food as medicine is also geared toward our emunctories. So when you're having lots of cruciferous veggies and greens, that's supporting liver detox and estrogen detox. Bitter greens are enhancing your bile flow and helping with your bowel movements. Fibers feeding your microbiome and again helping with those regular healthy bowel movements to eliminate toxins and to eliminate any estrogens that are lingering that you could reabsorb. We've got our lymph love seed of health. So we're using tools like dry skin brushing, my favorite castor oil packs, gentle movement, maybe some sauna, sweating therapy. And that's really helping to support cellular drainage and waste, get that extracellular matrix drained manually with some lymph support, right? And movement as medicine is also amazing for our organs of elimination. So that might look like walking, stretching, yoga, rebounding, just jumping is so good for our lymphatic system. And that's also going to stimulate peristalsis and move your gut. And when you're moving for medicine, you're breathing, right? You're stimulating your lymphatics, you're improving your circulatory system. Mindfulness and nervous system regulation are also going to be really powerful tools around healthy emunctory care. So, when you're stuck in fight or flight, for example, elimination might be stalling. So, doing exercises like a breathwork practice, a vagal toning practice, co regulating with a loved one are all really going to help increase that parasympathetic health and emunctory elimination. And sleep and play are also going to be key. That's one of our seeds of health. So, when you're deeply sleeping, remember your lymphatics of your brain are draining and detoxing, your liver's regenerating, and having times of pleasure and joy and just deep relaxation and experiencing maybe senses of wonder and awe out in nature. All of these are connected to helping your body be in that state to eliminate in healthy patterns every single day. So I came up with the idea of the seeds of health so that, yes, this list sounds really long, right? There's all these things to do for our health. But if you break it down into, okay, I'm going to water this one seed of health today and really help it to thrive, I think it makes it more sustainable and really doable when these changes can sometimes feel overwhelming. So let's walk through a sample case so we can really understand how these emunctories play a really big role in our health. So I had a patient who was a 38-year-old woman. She had a long history of endometriosis come into my clinic, and her symptoms included heavy, painful periods. She had clotting with them. She had chronic bloating and constipation, acne along her jawline. She felt really puffy, especially after she would wake up in her face, and had puffiness under her eyes. And she had some low grade fatigue every day. She talked about a little bit of anxiety, no panic attacks, but just this low level of anxiety every day, and really intense PMS with breast tenderness and mood swings. And she has done some things on her own. So she had done the Whole30. She had done some liver cleanses and had worked on mold remediation in her home. But she always felt like anytime she would do a cleanse or a detox, a week or two later, she would crash and she would either get sick or feel really tired, run down, and just not like she was able to sustain the changes that she had made in that cleanse or detox. She would kind of go back to, we call it the dirty fishbowl analogy, right? Like we need to really clean out the aquarium before we put the fish back into the dirty fish tank. And your emunctories are really doing this for you. So what I saw when she came in to see me was that her liver was congested. So she had these estrogen dominant symptoms, irritability before her period. She had nausea after fatty foods, which told me that her bile was probably not working optimally. Maybe there was some gallbladder stagnation, some liver stagnation as well. As far as her colon goes, she had constipation and incomplete elimination. So that really also suggests that there was some backup of those estrogen metabolites potentially. Her kidneys were reflected in those puffy eyes and kind of swollen skin, swollen fluid retention, and edema that hint at that kidney stagnation. And then her skin, she had hormonal acne. She had rashes after stress. So she was eliminating through her skin as well. And it was flaring, it was red, it was irritated. And her lymph, she had swollen lymph nodes when she had PMS. Actually, right before her period, she would notice she would get swollen lymph nodes. And she had that congestion and painful lumpy breasts before her period as well. And as far as kind of mind spirit modalities, she was reporting that she had a history of people pleasing. She had a lot of chronic stress and kind of holding everything in, holding it all together and pushing through. And so she did report some emotional stagnation along with this physical stagnation that we were seeing. So again, instead of jumping into a more aggressive detox, we talked about the seeds of health and the daily habits that she could do to support her emunctories and organs of elimination that were not that complicated and don't cost any money. So it was kind of fun for her to think about things that she could be doing every day that would help with some of her symptoms and really getting more to the root cause of them, right? So one of the things that she loved doing that you've heard me talk about before was castor oil packs over her liver. And she was doing that a few nights of the week. And she really felt much better on the mornings when she woke up after doing a castor oil pack. She was less puffy and she just felt like she had drained things overnight, which is the goal. And then she was doing some rebounding. So in between, was a dental hygienist, so she didn't have a lot of breaks throughout the day. But in between patients, she had a little rebounder at work. She had gotten everyone at work to agree to have this in the break room, which I thought was hilarious. But everyone really liked it, and they were all jumping on it and having fun with it. So I don't know that every practice would allow this, but I was very excited for her that she was able to do this for a few minutes multiple times throughout the day. So that was kind of cool. And then she was doing Epsom salt baths a couple times a week, which was awesome. I told her, Thursday nights are my Epsom salt bath night every Thursday, and sometimes more times throughout the week, but I'm always in my Epsom salt bath on Thursday nights because my daughter's at her dad's. And she was doing bitters for bowel movement stimulation. So just having bitters with her meals before her food. So she would do arugula, she would do some dandelion tea, she was doing some herbal infusions, and she was doing a breathwork practice. But she would try to do that breathwork practice whenever she took a break to rebound or take a walk, or if she was doing a bath that night, that's when she would layer in her breathwork practice. So it didn't really feel overwhelming. Or even right before she would do her castor oil pack, she would do a few minutes of breathwork. And we did use some gemotherapy. We used rosmarinus and juniperus to open emunctories gently as well. And she was waking up every morning making sure to have water. She had not been doing that before. She had just been going right to coffee. So she was having her lemon water in the morning, and again, getting out for walks throughout the day. So I love layering in gentle biotherapeutic drainage, undas. We'll have a future episode on those, but you don't need all of that. You can just be doing some of these really basic rituals and routines every day, and they're going to support all of your organs of elimination. So basic care of our elimination processes is always the first step in a healing journey. So it's how we make space physically, emotionally, and spiritually for further detox to feel safe so that our body can get into that detox state and digest things even deeper and further. Because the fact of the matter is that we can't really take ourselves out of the toxic environment that modern life has become. We have a lot of toxicities bombarding our terrain every day, from plastics to pesticides to mycotoxins to xenoestrogens. We're exposed to heavy metals, industrial solvents. So we're constantly being exposed to things, but your body is so brilliant and adaptive. It's going to hide toxins in fat or tissues or bind them in the liver until it's safe to release them. Our body's really intelligent around toxicity. And if you don't support your emunctories and work on eliminating them, then jumping into a more aggressive detox, I've used this analogy where it's like you're kind of like shaking a snow globe and you're just making all the dirt go somewhere in a contained globe. You're just got that dirty aquarium and it has nowhere to go. So we have to open up and open these emunctories or drainage pathways before we start shaking up the dirt in that snow globe, right? So you're probably sitting there wondering, are my emunctories open? So some common signs of a failed detox or toxin overload because our emunctories are overwhelmed can be chronic fatigue, rashes or histamine flares, acne, anxiety and irritability, headaches or migraines, hormonal imbalances or crashes, insomnia, bloating, constipation, food intolerances. So lots of things, right? But true detox really happens when our terrain is ready. And that means clearing, eliminating. It means working on having a balanced nervous system so that our body feels safe to release, right? And having rhythms and rituals that tell our body it's safe and remind our body, okay, now it's time to poop, now it's time to breathe, can be really helpful on your healing journey. But remember, toxins are not only physical, right? There's another form of congestion I see all the time, and I think this could even be considered an emunctory. And this might be a little bit surprising, but emotions, right? One of the patterns that I see again and again, especially in women in midlife, is this: physical stagnation mirrors emotional stagnation. When the bowels don't move, there's often hypervigilance or emotional guarding. When lymph is congested, I'll often see that emotions are stuck or things just feel overwhelming. When skin is flaring, it's very often that something is deeper trying to come to the surface. And when breath is shallow, I'll often see that there's a grief that has been unprocessed. So when the body doesn't move, neither do the emotions. And your body isn't separate from your emotional or spiritual experience. They're one and the same. So our full terrain, our whole terrain really reflects the totality of who you are, your traumas, your habits, your family patterns, your beliefs, your unmetabolized stories about yourself and the world around you. So we can't fully detoxify on a cellular level if we don't also move the emotions that we've stored inside. And very often, some of these emotional adhesions will even exhibit themselves in tight fascia. So you might even feel tightness or pain really because of an emotion that you're holding on to. So, very often, we're not just prescribing a supplement or a dietary change, but we are talking about physical movement, maybe shaking or dancing, crying or breath work, somatic therapies, releasing, journaling, moving your body in nature. Emotions are meant to move, they are energy in motion. And if they don't have a safe pathway to get out, just like toxins, they get stored in the tissues and they become part of your terrain and they become part of your obstacles to cure. So, again, this is why I will always circle back to having a healthy nervous system regulating practice so you can move in and out of those different states of your nervous system, right? We're not always going to feel calm. We're not always going to feel happy. That's not the goal. But having a flexible, adaptable nervous system is really foundational to depuration, to detox. So, when we're in a state of freeze or dorsal shutdown, which we've talked about before, elimination might slow, healing might pause. We're holding on physically and emotionally. And that's why we talked about emotion so much in our and nervous system states in our constipation episode. So if you're feeling constipated, bloated, or your skin is breaking out, you can ask what needs to be released here. What feeling am I resisting or holding on to? And it's not about blaming ourselves, but it's about acknowledging and it's about coming to a place of wholeness and acceptance. So I think that true terrain medicine really honors that mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual are inseparable. We're all one, right? And I really do think that detoxification is not just physical. In traditional systems of medicine, from Ayurveda to vitalistic naturopathy, the organs of elimination are also linked to emotional and spiritual patterns. So the liver is often linked to angry or boundary issues or inner fire. I wish when Dr. Z was on as a guest, I had reminded him that he taught me in my clinic shifts that often you'll have a patient with liver stagnation who has these underlying anger issues, and you can teach them to go, ooh, sa, and release over the liver. And just pulling in all of those pearls was really powerful on my clinical learning journey with him. So next time he's on, I'll have to have him talk about that. The colon is going to be linked to control, grief, letting go. Kidneys are going to be linked to fear, scarcity, ancestral wounding. Lungs are linked to sadness, unexpressed truth, unprocessed grief. And skin is linked to feelings around being visible, shame, or psychic boundaries, or needing to put boundaries in place more often. I'm always saying you can't heal the liver without healing your resentment. You can't move your bowels without learning to release control in other aspects of life. And you can't fully detox your terrain if your nervous system is stuck in a fear state. So it really is all connected. And that's why the seeds of health are not just about food or water. They're about remembering who you are, how you feel, and what you're carrying internally as well. So remember, your body is not broken when we have symptoms. It's wise, it's speaking to us, it's rhythmic, it's constantly striving for balance, right? I can have a whole episode on nutrients and herbs and homeopathy to support the emunctories, and I will, but you can also focus on these basics. So instead of doing extreme detoxes or protocols, I invite you to support your emunctories daily. Hydrate, right? Focus on these basic seeds of health, support your lymphatic system. Slow down and take time to regulate your nervous system when you're having a stressful day. You can treat detox as a daily ritual, as sacred maintenance of this car that you're driving your spirit around in, right? And you can honor your body's cycles with curiosity. So if you are not pooping every single day, ask why, right? And get curious about it. So even 5 minutes of just gently dry skin brushing or giving yourself a self-lymphatic massage, taking time to do a castor oil pack or practice some deep belly breaths in the morning. These are rituals that tell your terrain, hey, it's safe. You can detox, you can heal. And these are rituals that will enable you to live in a body that feels clear, energized, and fully yours. If this episode resonated with you, then please share it with a friend, leave a review, and you can even tag me on Instagram if you'd like. And if you're ready to build a rhythm of daily detox and deep, lasting emunctory health, then you can explore that free Seeds of Health journal. It's at the link in my Instagram bio, and it's also linked in episode 20 and 7, I think, where we go a little bit deeper into what the Seeds of Health are. So, thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I hope that working on your emunctory help guides you further to living life fully human and deeply healed.